This week on the Analog Circle podcast, Spider-Man Miles Morales will be getting a performance mode. We get more information about the Xbox Series X external memory card. Ubisoft CEO talks about their games not getting a $10 increase. We get beta release dates for Marvel Avengers, and we may possibly have the date and time for PlayStation's August event. All of these news stories can be found here today, right now, in episode 137 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I truly want to say welcome to the doggone show. Now, guys, ladies and gentlemen, tuning in, listening right now, you guys know that as it stands at the moment, the feedback section has its own show. It has its own podcast. And if you, the listener out there listening right now, want to be a part of that, you can simply do it two different ways. Either you can call in on the hotline at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Now, I got to tell y'all, since I got all of that out the way, all of that shameless plugging and whatnot, I want to let you guys know I appreciate y'all. I appreciate y'all rocking out with me every single week. Means the world to me. It's another thing that we all know as well, outside of me being very appreciative that you guys take the time out to chill out, hang out with me, and listen to me ramble on most of the time. But we know that Ghost of Tsushima, yes, Tsushima, just released last week. I believe it was Friday. And what I have here, because, man, I absolutely love giving these away. It is just a small token. I mean, a very, very small token, just to let you guys know that I appreciate you. So get your pens, get your paper, get your doggone crayons, your Crayolas that you used to use back in middle and elementary school out to go ahead and write down this code, because I have here a PlayStation store gift card that has $25 on it. So get ready to write this down. The code is as follows. It is 37M2 RCNGFR K4. Once again, that's 37M2RCNGFRK4. If anybody is interested, type that in. Take $25 off of your purchase. If it's Ghost of Tsushima, that's awesome. But you use it the way that you want to. And once again, it's just a small piece of me saying thank you for rocking out with me. Now, moving on. Let's go ahead, man, and get into what we always come here for, and that is for the gaming news that went down. We ain't gonna waste no time. Let's rock on into it. So, now, this is an old story. Matter of fact, this is about Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I believe the narrative director's name is Darby McDevitt. He had sat down with GameSpot to talk about side quests, where he explained that traditional side quests are, quote, almost non-existent, end of quote. Now, the article continued by saying there are longer story arcs to complete as part of the main quest line, but extra activities you complete will happen more spontaneously and won't be quests you have to seek out. Now, the reasoning for this is to fit the narrative, because the protagonist is an invader and not a native. So it wouldn't make sense to have quest givers giving him quests while you're still trying to make alliances. So yeah, I know a lot of people were upset about a lot of the quests that you have to go on, and what's that, Assassin's Creed Odyssey, I believe. People said that game was too long, it was too RPG heavy, you had to do too many things to get to where you needed to go. So maybe Ubisoft heard that and they said, look, let's go ahead and knock down some of these side quests, make them darn near non-existent, and make it fit into the narrative with you actually having other activities to do, making it more spontaneous, and for it to actually kind of blend in with your quests. You won't have to seek it out. So, yeah, less side quests. Let's go ahead and move into some other news. Now, let's talk about Microsoft Flight Simulator. Now, it looks like the game will be launching on August 18th. Now, the interesting thing about this release is it will only be available through Game Pass and the Windows Store, but it will not be available on Steam or the Epic Games Store, at least at the game's initial launch. Now, here's Microsoft's quote. He says, "We have no news to share regarding additional versions, but our goal is to have Microsoft Flight Simulator available on as many platforms as possible." End of quote. So for once, I guess, no day and date release for other platforms. Very, very interesting. Me, am I interested in Flight Simulator? Absolutely, kinda not. I mean, I've seen it a little bit. It does look a little dope, but come on, man. It's a flight simulator. I'm still upset that PC continues to get games before the Xbox ecosystem does. This is ridiculous, Phil. I don't like it, brother. And I hate it when people say, oh man, why should I care? It's been on PC forever. You should care because you are being sideswiped. They are basically saying, forget what you feel. Your games on the, well, not your games, but the games on the Xbox brand are going to be everywhere. But when it comes to the PC, you're going to have to wait on it. That's bogus. That's BS. But anyway, Flight Simulator, August 18th for people that are looking forward to it. And I did see that it looks like it has a controller that comes with it, some kind of flight stick or whatever. That seems kind of dope. I'm sure that would kind of make the experience a little bit more immersive, but I digress on that one. Let's go ahead and let's talk about some more Xbox news. Now, Xbox head Phil Spencer, he came out on a blog post to speak about the backwards compatibility of the Xbox Series X in a little more detail, where he said, and I quote, "It's our intent for all Xbox One games that do not require Kinect to play on Xbox Series X at the launch of the console. And because of the unprecedented power of the Xbox Series X, most of your favorite games will load faster and look and perform many times better on the new console." End of quote. And just to reiterate, Phil Spencer said, and I quote, "There is no way for Kinect to work." End of quote. So here, I guess Phil, he wanted to make sure that he's being as transparent as possible for anybody that thought they was playing Kinect Adventures out this mother lover on the Series X. I don't know why you would do that to yourself, but he's letting you know before anybody gets any kind of ideas, the Kinect versions of any games will not be compatible with the Series X. But it is great to but to read that he's saying that is their intent, that the Xbox Series X will be able to play a ton of the Xbox One games and to get that load time. Man, I'm telling you, I was playing Control earlier today, and those load times are horrendous. If there is ever a cure or a remedy, no pun intended, to the loading screens, I would absolutely take it, because it takes so long to get back to the action. I think it took like 24, 28 seconds. Bogus. But, that's one of the things that I'm looking forward to the most when it comes to the new console. is being able to have the games that I already have get better performance, whether it's by frames, whether it's by resolution or load times. Think it'll be fantastic. But let's go ahead and let's move on to the next story. So you guys might remember early on when Sony said that they were planning on making between 5 and 6 million PlayStation 5s for the fiscal year, which ends by March 2021. Well, according to Nike, I believe it's pronounced Nike, and Bloomberg Japan, it looks like Sony is ramping up PlayStation 5 production to between 9 to 10 million units. And it looks like the reasoning behind this is the demand, and because people still are at home and the huge spike in the gaming industry. So this does make sense. I remember when that initial article came out, the reasoning Sony was doing this was because they didn't want to get stuck with too many units. But it looks like a ton of people are very excited about the PlayStation 5. When they showed off the PlayStation 5 controller, it halfway broke the internet. Shoot, when they showed the logo off, it was trending heavy and hot when just the logo came out. So it looks like PlayStation is seeing that their market might not be nearly as bad as they were initially thinking. Now, who knows what happens when that price point is released, whether or not it's $400 or $500. We'll have to see how the consumer base actually reacts to that, because COVID-19 is making it harder on people financially. Believe me, I see it when I go out, when I'm truck driving. Certain places that I used to go to, they are boarded up. So, I mean, it's a shame, but that is unfortunately the climate that we're living in as far as financials go. So hopefully, this will be great, for Sony to get this off, because we know those 9 to 10 million units, more than likely, they're going to sell pretty fast. That first wave usually goes relatively quickly, but it'll still be interesting to see if the demand will be that high as soon as the PlayStation 5 comes out, because we know that tomorrow. Anyway, well, I'm going to keep on moving on. Let's keep on going and go into the next story. So to continue on with Sony, we know that lately Phil Spencer has been at the front of the line promoting that for the next 1 to 2, possibly 3 years, I don't think it was 3, but let's just stick with 1 to 2 years, gamers who own an Xbox One won't be left behind, and that gamers will have a choice to play on new hardware or old, which has made some people look at Sony's side eye, kind of like, what are y'all doing? So, to answer this, as far as what Sony is doing, it looks like Jeff Keighley, he did a live stream with Sony marketing person Eric Lampel, who said, and I quote, "A big pillar of our company is innovation. It's a pillar of Sony Corporation, and it's also a pillar of the PlayStation Company. We are always trying to push the boundaries of play. We want to excite gamers and deliver new experiences. In many cases, we can't take everyone with us from previous consoles because you need new hardware and devices." End of quote. So here it looks like Sony is putting a line in the sand to say, this is our plan. We are going with the traditional model. We understand that Microsoft, they're doing what they're doing, and we're doing what we're doing, what works for us. And I 100% agree with Sony on this. I mean, if this is what you guys want to do, if you're going to put Miles Morales behind a paywall pretty much to have people come out and buy your console, so be it. If Ratchet and Clank is the only way you can get it is on the PlayStation 5, so be it. Horizon 2, so be it. It's been like that for years. People have all of a sudden started to act different, started to act brand new, like this has never happened before, that what Sony is doing is a foreign concept, and what Microsoft is doing has always been the case. Granted, I love the way both of them are moving. For Microsoft, I love the fact that the games that I already own, that I spent my hard-earned money on, will not only work with the Series X, but it will also perform better on the Series X. And I also like the fact, like I just said a few seconds ago, that Sony, they're sticking with the traditional model. They are giving me a reason to go out and buy their console. They're telling me if I want that new Spider-Man Miles Morales, if I want any of those games that I saw at their show, for the most part, I'm gonna have to go out and get a PlayStation 5. It is absolutely nothing wrong with this. Now, granted, it's always up to Sony. Sony can always backtrack if they see that Microsoft is getting the better of them and that people are really, really on board with what they're doing. Then Sony could possibly change up the strategy and say, well, hey, maybe we need to fall in line and do what Microsoft is doing to keep the fan base happy, because the only thing that matters to any of these companies at the end of the day is the bottom line. And as long as the bottom line isn't hurting, it's not hemorrhaging, and they're not losing money, they are not going to change their stance. I don't know why people don't understand that or get it. At the end of the day, it is just business. These companies don't care about us. If we get kicked out on the street, nobody's coming to your rescue. Not Phil Spencer, not Satoru. Well, rest in peace to him. But none of these execs are coming out there to help us. If the BG&E bill isn't paid, so be it. You on your own. People really act like these guys are our friends. They're not. They give us entertainment, and in turn, we give them our money. That's it. Nothing more, nothing less. So if this is something that you don't like Sony doing, then vote with your wallet. People act like it's so hard to send a message to these companies when they're upset. Just don't buy it. Don't complain about it like people do about Call of Duty every year. Oh, this is whack. This is terrible. This is horrible. And then come to find out 6 months later, just off of microtransactions, they made $2.8 billion. It's ridiculous. But anyway, I digress. Let's go ahead and move in to the next story. For those of you that are anticipating Marvel Avengers and can't wait to play it, for people that pre-order the game, Square Enix has given the dates when you can try it out. So for PlayStation 4, it will be August 7th. For Xbox and PC, it will be August 14th. But if you're still skeptical and you don't want to pre-order, on August 21st, the beta will be available for everyone to try. And don't forget that on July 29th, they are having another war table to show the game off. I'm still semi-excited about the game after that last showing. I got question marks. I'm like, oh man, it doesn't quite look as good as I thought it was. The gameplay looks a little questionable, but I am overall still pretty excited about the game. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on into the next situation. So, we all know, you guys might not know this, but, The Last of Us Part 2, god dag. That game right there is the game of the generation. For me, I didn't even talk about that game. Since it's a different format, I don't have any voicemails to play or any feedback. I just kind of skipped over what I was playing, but I beat that game over the weekend. God, dog, I got to do a spoiler cast on that. That game is absolutely incredible, aka meaning incredible. It's just incredible, brother. It's amazing how the character. Anyway, let me get to the point. God darn, I'm getting sidetracked already. But like I said, The Last of Us 2, I didn't say this, but The Last of Us 2 when it first released, it was actually review bombed. So, just hours after its release on Metacritic. Well, it looks like Metacritic, they are going to try and change that from happening again, because a Metacritic spokesperson made a statement to GameSpot that said, and I quote, "We recently implemented the 36-hour waiting period for all user reviews in our game section to ensure our gamers have time to play these games before writing their reviews. This new waiting period for user reviews has been rolled out across Metacritic's game section and was based on data-driven research and with the input of critics and industry experts." End of quote. I kind of butchered that, but I'm sure you guys got it. So yeah, 36 hours now. You guys have to wait 36 hours before you can drop a review. Look, I give them credit for trying, to do something to, aid the, the review bombing to kind of ease up. But most people, they got time. They'll just be sitting back, waiting, relaxing, waiting for that clock to hit 36 hours, and boom, gave it a 1 out of 10. So, like I say, I applaud the effort, but I think you should do it for like 2 to 3 days, maybe even a week. To have people wait before they can actually put a review up. That way people aren't just chomping and waiting and just sitting there in the bushes, just waiting to pounce on it just to say, oh man, it was a 1 out of 10 or a 4.5, because it is no god-daggone way. I'll say it here right now that anybody that played The Last of Us and they gave that game a 4 out of 10, you're on crack cocaine, brother. I'm dead serious. It is no way that a real gamer that has no bias towards Sony, or I should say a bias against Sony and has a bias for Xbox, will sit down and play that game and not be like, good grief, some of the most amazing graphics I've seen this generation. You guys know that God of War, that was the game that I thought was the PlayStation game of the generation. At first, it was Witcher 3. I still stand by Witcher 3. That game was absolutely amazing. But as far as PlayStation games go, it was absolutely stunning. Fantastic. The Last of Us Part 2, great, one of the greatest goddamn games ever freaking made. I stand by that. 10 out of 10. Straight up and down. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on into the next story. So, let me see. Oh, yeah. This was definitely an interesting one, because it looks like Sony are clapping back at the skeptics about how powerful their console actually is, because Insomniac Games tweeted out, and I quote, "Swing through the city like never before on PlayStation 5 with an optional 4K / 60 frames per second performance mode." End of quote. So here, this is actually pretty interesting, and I gotta shout out the Boomstick XL. What's going on, brother? That guy's a cool dude, man. I was listening to his podcast, and he had brought up, man, this guy went straight up McGruff crime dog on the scene, man. He had brought up the Far Cry 6 box, and he had pointed out where it said that the game was going to be running at 4K or 60 frames per second, and they didn't say the same thing for the PlayStation side. So that kind of got thrown out there in the mix. People were saying, man, does that mean that since it has that slash in there, that it's either 4K or is it 60 frames and maybe running at 1440p? My thing is that whatever way it goes, if it can't handle 4K 60, that's cool. If it's a performance mode and you actually have the option to say, hey, I'd rather go with frames versus fidelity, graphical fidelity, that is a fantastic win. I don't think it's anything wrong with that. I think that as long as you're giving the player the choice, let us choose, let us decide what we want to do. These consoles are going to be very, very powerful. They were saying for months that the Xbox Series X is pretty much comparable. I'm not saying it's 1-to-1 because we know how people like to jump all over it. Well, it's 2.7 whatever shorter than the actual 2080 Ti, but people are saying that it's likable to a, not likable, but I guess it is similar to a 2080 Ti, which is mighty powerful. So if you have that kind of tech up underneath the hood, then you definitely can give options to let the player decide whether they want to go with 60 frames per second or if they want that graphical fidelity, knock it down to 30 frames per second and play it 4K native. Even if it's not a 4K native, I mean, they say 1440p is cool too. Hey, give that option as well. But I think the clear takeaway for this upcoming generation should be they should give us the option to actually play the game the way that we want to play it, whether that's frames more than anything or whether that's resolution over everything. But anyway, I think this is fantastic. Like I said, Miles Morales is definitely a game that I'm picking up. I'm looking forward to it. Looking forward to getting my hands on it. I was a big fan of Spider-Man, and this is a fantastic way to, I guess, segue into Spider-Man. Well, what will eventually be Spider-Man 2 sometime later on in the future. But let's see, what else do we have here? Let's see. Okay. So, for a few months, the Xbox Series X, we've known that it's going to be using memory cards, as it were, for external storage. Well, we did get some, let me see, what did I have here? Oh, we did get some more technical information about the SSD external card, but, I mean, it was nothing too crazy. So, I mean, Seagate, they didn't reveal the price, but they did say that the expansion card will offer 1 terabyte of storage, and it'll have a custom PCIe Gen 4 X2 NVMe flash memory protocol, and a 3-year warranty will come with the card as well. Now, Senior Vice President at Seagate, Jeff Falkman, had this to say, and I quote, he says, Seagate's Xbox Series X storage expansion card technology delivers additional game storage at peak speeds, replicating the console's internal SSD experience. End of quote. Now, I looked up the specs of the expansion card, or at least as close as I could get to these specs on this card on Newegg, and something that was close to this. I'm not saying it was 1-to-1, but something with the most similar, I guess, specs of this card. They were selling for $195 for that hard drive. So do I think that Microsoft is going to sell this for almost $200? I mean, I would hope not. I would hope at the best, very best price, it would be $100. But on the worst side, I would say possibly, please don't go above 130. I mean, 150 at the max. But like I said, when I looked up on Newegg for something that was comparable to this external memory card, $195 was what I found. So I don't know, man. And also that card, well, it wasn't a card, but that external hard drive, I mean, It was an external hard drive. That was it was internal. God darn, Kiaun, get it together, brother. But it was with a 3-year warranty, just like this memory card is gonna have. And so I mean, we'll have to see how the pricing goes. I don't know how good that's gonna work out at almost $200. Hopefully Microsoft can get that down quite a bit. But as I was doing some research on this, some of these terms are foreign to me. I found out that NVMe, that means non-volatile memory express, and is the next generation of solid state drives. And I found out that PCIe has to do with the motherboard. So for people that kind of were in the dark like me, that was just a little tech talk for you right there, brothers. But I'm going to get the heck out of this story because I butchered the heck out of it. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now, it looks like Sony maybe trying to keep scalpers at bay when it comes to the PlayStation 5, because a Reddit user dug into Sony's source code over on on direct.playstation.com, where user U/K Garvey discovered an error message that could appear if someone tried to order more than one PlayStation 5. Now, this story did get confirmed. It did get confirmed that the message actually does exist. Now, the message, it says, and I quote, "You can only purchase one version of the PlayStation 5 console, disc or digital. You have already added one PlayStation 5 console to your cart." End of quote. So IGN, actually, they were the ones that actually confirmed that this was true, that this guy that goes by username U/K Garvey, he actually was on the money with this. So I actually respect this. But we know, I think this is great if PlayStation is trying to make this a situation where only one console per household. That would be phenomenal, because I'm gonna tell y'all, I have been looking at that Cyberpunk 2077 Xbox One X console, and man, I want to pull the trigger, but I just can't do it. When I saw that thing for $300 on Best Buy's website, and then at the most $400 when Target had them for like 2 seconds, and then I see people selling it for like $550 and $600. I'm like, man, I just can't do it. I can't pull the trigger on that. I can't pay $200 extra for something that was already at $400. So hopefully this will help. People are people. They're going to do what they want to do. They're going to call their aunts, their uncles, their cousins, their friends, their nieces and nephews for people that do this to make a quick buck. It's always going to be inflation. It's always going to be a secondhand market. But I do commend Sony for trying to at least keep some of it at bay if this does turn out to be 100% true. But what else do we have here, man? Yeah, let's get on into the next story. So, I actually want to save that. But, let me see, what else did I have here? Okay, yeah. This was actually an interesting story too. Now, we're all aware that next gen is just a few months away. And with the next gen consoles, game prices are looking like they will increase by $10, making them $70. Making $70 the standard, actually. But on an investor call today, because it actually happened, today, which is Wednesday when I'm recording this, Ubisoft CEO Yves Guillemot, he said, and I quote, for the Christmas games, we plan to come with the same price as the previous generation of consoles. End of quote. So according to Yves Guillemot, once again, CEO, Ubisoft, everything that comes out this Christmas holiday, he's going to stick with the $60 price tag. Now, after Christmas, once January starts to roll in 2021, I don't know if this is going to stand, but at least for the not foreseeable future, but the very, very near future, you'll be able to get Far Cry. Well, shoot, wait a second, man. Far Cry 6 comes out in February. Oh, Yves Guillemot, no. Is he gonna pull the okey doke rope-a-dope on everybody where soon as February hits, doggone Far Cry 6, the game that a lot of people are gonna want, is gonna be $70. Oh, man. Hey, once again, if he does, it's business, Jack. It ain't nothing ever personal. Anyway, for right now, any game you wanted from Ubisoft for Christmas 2020, $60. After that, I don't know what's gonna happen. But let's go ahead and let's get into the last story. Now, it's been no secret that there is speculation that Sony is having another event in August, but that's it. We don't know anything else. We just have heard hearsay he said, she said, they all said. But according to leaker Robert Serrano, who also revealed the June PlayStation 5 gaming event, is now saying that the August event will take place on Thursday, August 6th at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So everybody mark that on your calendars. Get that date. We're going to see if it's actually true. August 6th. They were saying with this show, they're supposed to possibly reveal the price point. They have a few games already in the tuck that they're waiting to show off. At that show, they actually allegedly held some big guns back from showing them at their other show. So we'll have to see if this turns out to be true or not. I'm actually very excited. But yeah, I'm excited about this show and whatever anyway, man, that is the end of the news this week, God dog. It is over. That is it, man. But I do want to say this though. Tomorrow, God dog, man, we are on the cusp. Oh, we are on the cusp of possible greatness coming out tomorrow. Xbox is hitting the so-called E3 stage. We know what it is. We know it's not E3, but it's their E3 presentation, as it were. And I'm telling you, I'm excited, man. They just showed Master Chief off earlier today. Showed one of his covers. Well, not one of his covers, but the cover of the game. Somebody was able to decipher that Master Chief has a grappling hook or something, man. So that could change some of the dynamics of how Halo Infinite is going to be. We know that Halo is getting gameplay shown tomorrow, and I will be recording. You better believe I'm going to be recording tomorrow, brother. I've been waiting on this. I'm so excited for tomorrow. And what I want to know from y'all is, do you think, well, by the time you guys actually able to respond, the show would have already happened. But do you think Microsoft brought it? Because they gotta bring it for me. They are out of doggone chances with me, man. They need to bring the fire. I need something amazing. I need something absolutely incredible. And I can't settle for less. Anytime, you guys don't understand. The Last of Us Part 2, I don't give a daggone what anybody says. Say what you want. That game did not push an agenda. It didn't push anything like that. It wasn't slam dead all in your face and all obvious or anything like that. To this day, finishing that game up almost 4 days ago, almost 5 now, actually, 5 days ago, I still don't understand how the heck that game got any hate. It was actually just phenomenal. One of the best stories I have ever partook in is ain't even the right word, partake. One of the best stories I've ever played. The voice acting, the graphics, the gameplay, the different plots, the different twists that the story took. I mean, God, dog, I have never played a game with so many conflicting emotions that I had all at the same time. Neil Druckmann, God, dog. I mean, you put your whole arm, foot, leg, fingers, I mean, everything into this. It was such a phenomenal game. And I was just completely blown away. Like I told you guys before, it would have had to have fallen off a whole cliff for me to have said, oh man, this was terrible. By the end of the game, God dog, man, I sat there in just amazement. Like, I can't believe I just played something like that. I'm going to do a spoiler cast on that for sure. But, guys, keeping with the show's fashion, I definitely want to ask you guys a question since I just started talking about The Last of Us. I want to, part 2 that is, I want to ask you guys, is this PlayStation's greatest generation? Is this the best generation that PlayStation has ever had? I mean, and I'm going to answer it and say, God daggone right. This is the absolute freaking most phenomenal generation that I have seen PlayStation have. PlayStation 2, we know that was monumental. I mean, you had games like Devil May Cry, Metal Gear Solid, what was that? 2, you had Grand Theft Auto 3, you had Final Fantasy X. I mean, it had so many amazing classics that were on that console. I mean, what was it? Shadow of the Colossus was on there. I mean, much respect to PlayStation for those games. But this generation, it just seems like the lineup was so diverse and so triple A, man. I mean, listen. They had Detroit Become Human, Horizon Zero Dawn, Spider-Man, God of War. They had what was the other one? Ratchet and Clank, Judgment, Fist of the North Star, God doggone, The Last of Us Part 2. They just had so many games. The Order 1886. Say what you want to say. I know you didn't like it. I loved it. But the Order 1886, they just brought AAA after AAA after AAA after AAA. And then you look at, well, we ain't going to talk about them, but I'm just saying that it is by far the best PlayStation generation I have ever been a part of. And it has been absolutely a phenomenal roller coaster of a ride. And then to end the generation off, they bring out Ghosts of Tsushima. God dog. I mean, a beautiful looking game. I haven't played it yet. Don't know anything about, well, I mean, I know about it, of course, but I've been staying away from spoilers, so I haven't really gotten any of the story, but all I've seen are the graphics. God dog. Game looks amazing, man. So, I mean, that's my question to you guys. Is this PlayStation's greatest generation? If you want to be a part of the conversation and be a part of the feedback episode, which will be episode number 2. It's all up to you guys how far that actually goes. As long as you guys keep writing in, as long as you guys got questions and got answers, that show will continue. But it's on your shoulders to keep it going. So if you want to be a part of the conversation, like I say all the time, you can do it 2 different ways. Either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard, or you can email the show, and the email address is theanalogcirclepodcast@gmail.com. I said I messed up. .com, god dog it. Then tomorrow we are recording. It's gonna be a great time. We're gonna be coming at y'all right after the E3 show. I mean, yeah, it is the E3 show, the Microsoft E3 show, as it were. Gonna get our thoughts. It's gonna be a couple of us, and we gonna see what they do. I got high hopes. I got very, very high hopes that they're gonna knock it out the park. I want to see some Hellblade 2. I just want to see some dope stuff, man. But anyway, I'm gonna get on out of here. But before we officially get out of here, always remember, it is not about the consoles. It is about the game. So with that being said, until next week, when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.